Jean Gunnhildr, Dandelion Knight. All character stories. The righteous and rigorous Dandelion Knight, an acting Grand Master of Mondstadt's Knights of Favonius. As the acting Grand Master of the Knights, Jean has always been devoted to her duties and maintaining peace in Mondstadt. She had taken precautions long before the onset of Storm Terror's assault, and she will always guard Mondstadt with her life as always. Character details. The Knights of Favonius are the protectors of Mondstadt, the swords and shields of the city. In addition to keeping the city and the surrounding travel routes safe from the threat of wild monsters, the Knights' most important responsibility is maintaining order among Mondstadt's inhabitants. Mondstadt is the city of freedom, but unchecked freedom without any kind of rules only invites chaos and anxiety. Jean's understanding of this is the reason she remains diligent at all times, holding herself to impeccable standards. However, she often finds that she exhausts her monthly quota of coffee within the first few days of the month as a result. Character Story 1. The Gunnhildr clan is the oldest family of knights in Mondstadt, dating back to even before the very epic was written. However, this long and proud lineage can also be a burden. Jean was raised by her mother to be the successor to the Gunnhildr clan. She was trained in all things a knight must know, and all the qualities they must exhibit, from discipline, etiquette, and conduct, to knowledge of history and ballads, as well as maintaining peak swordsmanship and physical fitness. Only by upholding this standard can Jean carry the mantle of the Gunnhildr clan, whose motto is, "For Mondstadt as always." Some time ago, there was a joke commonly told in Mondstadt's taverns. A Gunnhildr learns to say, "For Mondstadt, as always," before learning to say "mommy." As a child, Jean once lifted her head up from the book she was reading, Breeze Amidst the Forest, ballad selection, and saw the other children her age happily playing with pinwheels outside the window. The young Jean knew, in that moment, what her family motto meant to her. Now, when she lifts her head up from her piles of paperwork and sees the next generation of children doing the same thing, acting Grand Master Jean has no regrets about her years of service to that motto. You have to give your all to do the right thing. Always. Character Story 2. Master Jean is so reliable. If you ever run into trouble, seek Jean. She'll know what to do. The denizens of Mondstadt, civilians and knights alike, all rely on Jean. If someone needs help for the right reasons, Jean does not hesitate to render assistance, be it a quarrel down at the market, a relationship issue. No matter how unrelated it may be to a knight's job, Jean gladly lends a hand whenever she can. The chance to help someone in need is reason enough for a knight. To her knightly duties take priority over her role as acting Grand Master. She believes helping others herself is the best way to assist. She holds her fellow knights to the same standard. Lisa, the librarian, once suggested that Jean take a break and enjoy some afternoon tea, as is befitting of a lady. However, to Jean, doing that which is befitting of a knight takes priority over doing that which is befitting of a lady. Jean is so reliable. Such is the reputation Jean enjoys in Mondstadt. Her only gripe is that there are not enough hours in the day. She could never help all of those in need, even by foregoing sleep. The dedication and commitment required to become someone so reliable is unimaginable. Character Story 3. Given everything Jean has brought to her role as acting Grand Master, people sometimes forget that there is, in fact, a Grand Master, who is her superior. This does not bother her in any way, though. Her role and title within the Knights of Favonius do not affect her worth ethic in the slightest. Her passion, honesty, and meticulousness come from two things. One is her education and training, which instilled in her a chivalrous spirit from a young age. The other is the devoted teachings of Varka, the free-spirited knight of Boreas and Grand Master of the Knights of Favonius, currently dispatched on a crusade. The effect the relaxed and unruly knight of Boreas, Varka, has had on Jean's growth has been great. Grand Master, please take your job seriously. All of Mondstadt looks up to you.
Well, you are my second in command, so helping me out is part of your job description. This way, I can focus on the really important things. Wouldn't you agree?
He is the knight of new frontiers and legendary conquests, while she is the knight of maintaining peace and freedom. Jean does not resent Varka. Perhaps there is wisdom in his conduct. However, what Varka leaves undone falls on her shoulders, and it is then down to her to do the right thing. Half a year ago, Varka led the elite knights of Favonius on yet another expedition away from Mondstadt. An expedition. How typical of Varka's character.
I'll leave things here to you. I mean, you've basically been doing my job for years now anyway.
Leave it to me, Grand Master. After seeing the Grand Master off, Jean sat by the window and thought to herself, upon your return, I will show you a kinder, more prosperous, and more peaceful Mondstadt. Character Story 4. The great tree at Windrise is where the first Dandelion Knight came to the end of her journey. She was Vanessa, the founder of the Knights of Favonius and the restorer of Mondstadt. She bade farewell to the city she had vowed to protect, leaving behind her legend and a single sapling. After centuries of basking in the bliss of the thousand winds, this sapling grew into a towering tree. Jean was conferred the title of Dandelion Knight at the age of 15. The Dandelion Knight is also known as Lion Fang Knight, passed down through the generations of knights. The title is bestowed upon only the most distinguished. On the day she received the title, Jean excused herself from the celebrations that followed the conferment ceremony. As if following in the footsteps of her childhood hero, she went and stood before the great tree. The title of Dandelion Knight symbolizes Vanessa's legacy of resistance and benevolence. So how, Jean thought, could one such as herself be worthy of this honorable title? More than a millennium had passed since Mondstadt's restoration. Did she really have what it would take to continue to protect this ancient and proud land of freedom? Beneath her outwardly mature visage lay a heart of a young girl who had only just received the title and remained wholly unprepared for the task that lay before her. The wind blew from far away, and she felt it flow within her as it gently whisked away her doubts and worries, leaving her with an unwavering determination. For Mondstadt, as always, to become a warrior as kind and as determined as Vanessa, and to fight for her people and for freedom. Yes, this was the true meaning of her simple family motto. To this day, whenever Jean feels weary or feels herself beginning to waver, she comes and stands before this tree and lets the wind console her once more. It carries away her fatigue so that she may once more have the strength to carry on. The great tree at Windrise marked the end of the first Lion Fang Knight's journey. So too does it symbolize the beginning of Jean's. Character Story 5. Master Jean has a secret. The Gunnhildr clan is a venerable knightly house. This prideful blood comes from Jean's mother, Frederica. Jean's father, on the other hand, is Seamus Pegg, an adventurer famed throughout the continent. When he came to Mondstadt, he dusted off his past self and started anew with the Church of Favonius, and ascended to high office within it, becoming known as the Cardinal of Daybreak. The two lovers eventually parted ways. Young Jean, holding her mother's hand, would watch the silhouettes of her father and her sister Barbara grow ever more distant. Later, Barbara would follow in her father's footsteps and join the Church of Favonius, becoming a deaconess much beloved by the people. Jean has always wanted to get closer to her younger sister by blood, but cannot bring herself to say anything when faced with Barbara's evasive eyes. Perhaps this all-too-similar awkwardness is a sign that the sentiment is shared. Master Jean has yet another secret. No matter how many times she has read the historical classics, despite her title of Dandelion Knight, and though she has become the acting Grand Master whom everyone relies on, Jean still loves romance novels. This is not for the years as a young girl that she missed amid her training and duties, or due to the rift that formed in her parents' marriage. Jean simply yearns for the mutual attraction spoken of in such stories, for those emotions as subtle and fragile as spider silk. As a knight, she must put Mondstadt and the Knights of Favonius first. But if I too could. In her office, deep at night, Jean once again finishes reading Vera's Melancholy. If I have the time, it should be fine to go to Cape South just before daybreak, right? Lowering her head, Jean peeks out her window at the glittering stars above. Jean's Daily Schedule, version 17. This schedule is accurate down to the minute. From a morning run with Amber, followed a breakfast trip with Lisa on the way, to doing her own laundry by hand, and settling her own change of clothes at night. All things great and small pack Jean's schedule rather tightly. Every completed item is ticked off, while ones delayed due to external factors list the delayed whys and wherefores. Next to the item, Mondstadt's Public Facilities Review, delayed due to a bout of illness, is written the following, quote, completed at 3 a.m. End of month book purchase award is cancelled, unquote. Jean sometimes thinks that inspiration for this schedule may have been the training program her mother drew up for her 10 years ago. Vision. If one were to go by skill alone, Jean has long become one of the best swordsmen in Mondstadt. But in Jean's heart, she would rather be a shield that defends freedom and song than a sword that cuts through corruption and darkness. Protecting has always been a tougher task than destroying. Around the time when she was promoted from captain of her squad to master of the knights, a huge challenge stood before her. From without, the Fatui exerted diplomatic pressure, and from within, there were traitors, comrades of the former inspector. Regrouping and finding a way to break through was no easy task, but Jean was able to fend off the external pressure with one hand and lead the knights to smash the many plots of the Abyss Order with the other, re-establishing the authority of the Knights of Favonius. Jean will never forget the moment she received her vision. At that moment, all seemed to grow quiet, and she felt the breeze flow through her hand. The world seemed to fade away, save for the time-honored motto of the House of Gunnhildr. For Mondstadt, as always.